Hey, Coach, we'll get started with questions from Mike Cook. Mike, go ahead. Mike.
Sorry about that. Sorry,
All
Coach,
good.
a slow start tonight. What was the problem there?
I don't necessarily know that it was a slow start that early in the game. So I was actually kind of pleased that we hung in there initially. I think once it got past the first 5 minutes, then I think it started to open up a little bit where, some fires were lit as far as them seeing some shots go down. They made a lot of threes. When Mabry got in the game, that really changed things for them. But I think our offense was a big reason why they got a bounce in their step and they started playing at a much faster pace. They outpaced us the whole game. We fully expected that they would play differently after losing at home, the same way that we felt after losing our game at home. And I was hoping we were going to match and hang in there a little bit longer, but the game got away from us pretty quickly. But I thought the third quarter, obviously, we gave ourselves a chance. Going into the fourth quarter, it was a 12-point game, and then we just our offense didn't help us any. So credit their defense, and they just continued to make shots, and we just couldn't get that 3-point percentage down.
Jack, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. So with two great shooters on the floor almost the whole time with Ogunbowale and Mabry, how does that change the way that you guys have to communicate defensively?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call. Mabry has been the one from three. Enrique, I wouldn't call her a great shooter. She's a great scorer. Looked like a great shooter tonight when she was 4 or 5 from three. But she's just a tremendous scorer that plays with such force, physical force. So she gets to the paint, pretty frequently. But again, I've been a part of those games where all it takes is one person to kind of get hot, and then all of a sudden, the basket looks really, really big, and and then Enrique was feeding off that a little bit. But from a communication standpoint, I thought we lit some fires. Jefferson's a really good 3-point shooter. We got too far from her helping off the strong side. We were doing things we're not supposed to do. I don't know the reasons why that we would do them, but we did. I thought we were a little more flat-footed tonight. So ultimately, they outplayed us. We played well last game. We hit them. We stood their run, and but that was last game. This game was their game.
And then Dallas, they scored 54 bench points tonight after 36 in the previous matchup. Outside of Mabry really finding her shot tonight, what do you think changed the most with their second unit?
Mabry, 28. She had 0 for 8 last game. That's the single biggest change. It just she obviously was a big factor.
Mike, go ahead.
Coach, how do you describe this week? You had the obviously tonight's performance. Thursday was good, but then Tuesday you had the Chicago game that was maybe ugly, for lack of a better word. Just the up and down of it all, and how do you get that consistency going?
Well, I think it's we were just talking about this as a staff. There's a lot of us going through this, and it's the team that kind of grabs hold of it, and we have some challenges each night, either matchup wise, athletically, putting the ball in the hole. Like, I feel like we have a lot of factors that could go wrong, and as soon as they go wrong, it's a hard game for us to win. And there's a lot of teams just like us with that. So I think the team that can develop some consistency. I don't, the 23. We only have 14 turnovers, but 23 off of them. It's like every night, we're giving up a differential, in the turnover department. So we've got to shoot the ball better than 40%. So it's the team or the teams that can those weaknesses start to improve upon their weaknesses and make some strides. Those of us that are one night half game out of fourth, next night we're in 11th. That's the challenge here, that we're all going through it, and we're a little over a third. I think that's what we'll try to do. We got another road game down in Atlanta. It's a team that's going to be hungry to, get some payback. And, I thought that, the Chicago game was helpful to us in this game. And, as we worked through it, we didn't quit. We're going to have to go to Atlanta and face a team that's, probably still feeling, what happened in Minneapolis. And, can we find some physical toughness? Can we go, toe to toe and blow for blow? That's what we're looking for. I was hoping for that tonight, and we didn't get that early enough, to keep the crowd out of it, et cetera. But like I told VJ, I thought they played great.
Any other questions for Coach?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Coach.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, everybody, I have Fee with me.
Hey, Fee, we'll get started with questions from Mike. Mike, go ahead.
Hey, Fee. Started out pretty even there for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then Dallas just kind of took over there late first quarter. What was the difference?
We didn't come out hard enough. We really let them get their fire lit, and once that happens with Dallas, it's really hard to put it out. So the fact that we just came out so soft allowed them to really get going, and it was hard to kind of stop the bleeding after that.
And yet within the third quarter, I think you got it down to 12 a couple of times, but then they just kind of pushed it late. Was that just the case of running out of gas, or?
I think, we just dug ourselves such a deep hole. And like I said, at that time, we were kind of trading baskets. Like we would shoot a 3, then they would get maybe a 2, and the next time it'd be vice versa. So it was, we were just kind of too deep in the hole at that point.
I asked Coach this too, but how do you describe this week? You had a really bad loss at home. You go to Dallas, you win a nice game on Thursday, and then tonight's kind of hit or miss.
How do I, what'd you say?
I mean, how do you describe that week and maybe the lack of consistency that this team has right now or needs?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we have to change. It's not going to, this path that we're on is not going to lead to success. So we have to be able to string together wins, especially back-to-back like this on the road. When we won our last game, we have to be able to know that the team's going to come out really hard and be able to match their energy.
Thanks, V.
Jack, go ahead.
Hey, Fee, how tough is it mentally as a unit? When you guys start making a big run there in the third, only to have the Wings kind of catch every punch. And it seems like every time you got it to 12 or 11, they ballooned it right back to 15 or 17. How tough is that mentally to sustain?
It's really tough. Like I said, it's really hard because at that point, first of all, we were down by a lot going to halftime, about 20 points, and we'd let them get their fire lit. So with players like that, especially with like Enrique Marina, once they see shots going down early like that, their confidence builds even more. And then anything they throw up goes in. So it's kind of hard to like I said, stop the bleeding if we allow that to happen in the beginning.
And now that you've played in 9 games so far this season, what do you think the common themes have been in games that you guys have lost, and maybe what are some steps that you need to take to improve on in those areas?
Turnovers are always a consistent. We actually only had 14 tonight, only 14, but they scored like 20 points off of it. So turnovers is absolutely like our number one thing that I think teams take advantage of. They score every time we turn the ball over. So we have to get that under control.
And do you think that, Coach talked a little bit about how you guys it felt like you had a negative differential almost in every game with points off turnovers, even if you turn the other team over more. Do you think that it's more a byproduct of poor transition defense, or just that, that the pace just isn't there when you guys do force turnovers?
It kind of varies. So we've, like in Chicago, absolutely poor transition defense. It was terrible. And we do have spurts like that, but a lot of the times we're turning it over so high, it's hard for people to get back. Where we're turning the ball over is a big thing too. So yeah. And
then last one for you, it feels like you're getting more and ones off putbacks. In the last 2 games, has your mindset or the team's mindset as a collective changed in terms of how you guys are battling on the glass?
Yeah, I think being really aggressive, rebounding is a big thing for Minnesota. And we know that this team in particular is really aggressive and really athletic. So getting into their body and trying to get to the free throw line.
Awesome. Thanks, Fee.
Any other questions for Fee? All righty. Thank you, Fee. Hey, Crystal, we'll get started with questions from Jack. Jack, go ahead.
Hey, Crystal. So over the last 5 games or so, it really seems like the team's backcourt has played really well. How do you think you guys are all fitting in together now that you kind of have a sizable sample playing together?
I think we're just finding a way to play off of each other, you know, get in the paint, kick and create shots, and then we're knocking down our shots now.
And then have you noticed any common themes maybe with the backcourt specifically in terms of things that go wrong in games that you guys have lost so far? And maybe, you know, what are some ways that you think that you guys could improve upon those areas?
I think right now it's just our turnovers, you know, making sure we're making the easy play.
And then in that first quarter, what do you think made it really hard for you guys to just find and sustain a rhythm there? Do you think it was the turnovers, or was it something that Dallas was throwing at you that was different from the previous game?
It was definitely the turnovers and then them going down and hitting threes. I think in the first half, majority of their made shots were threes. So that's hard to, you know, come back and negate really.
Yeah, and so when they're attacking you guys from the corners, you know, what kind of adjustments do you guys look to make on the fly, or what is the communication like between the players, you know, in terms of how to rectify that?
When they're hitting shots like that, make them do something different, you know, close out longer, make them put it on the floor, and then rely on our help.
Any other questions for Crystal? Alrighty. Thank you, Crystal. All right, everybody, that'll do it for post game tonight. I will get this link sent out to all of you as soon as I can. If you need anything from us, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thanks, Corey.
Have a good night.